we're looking for people that will fit the culture, that are more so looking career-wise. They have the same values as we have as a company. Having someone that checks those boxes as far as can do the job and things like that, that's great. But we're looking for someone that more fits the values of the company.
Hi, Steve. I'm so glad to have you with us, especially this is our first episode for our podcast. So we're going to be talking about recruitment and hospitality, right? So as we all know, recruitment in this industry is critical with all the turnover and everything that just keeps happening all the time. But I want to start with a little bit of you. So if you can tell us about you, your history, and what brought you here to the case?
Sure. Well, I've been with the Cliffs. It'll be 3 years this month. My background is food and beverage and culinary. So I've been in that industry for probably over 30 years. Then COVID hit, and I kind of had a change of careers. So I got into recruiting, worked for a national recruiter for almost a year, and then this job became available, and I haven't looked back. So Eclipse, it's a great organization, and it's just a great company to work with.
Nice. And how was that change coming from F&B to HR?
It's a lot different. You don't have the everyday, stresses of the kitchen and, employees not showing up, things like that. But there's still have your own challenges and things like that. Finding the employees, well, that's one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah, right. And sometimes it's like you find it, but then needing to make sure that it's the right fit.
Exactly.
That's part of the thing. Yeah. And I mean, you have been in HR for 3.5 years? No.
Going on 3 years.
3 years. Okay. Have you seen any significant changes in the recruitment industry in hospitality?
I think that, it's probably going to more of a soft skill compared to a hard skill. We're looking for people that will fit the culture, that are more so looking, career-wise. They have the same values as we have as a company, things like that. It's having someone that checks those boxes as far as can do the job and things like that. That's great. But, we're looking for someone that, more fits the values of the company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And talking about the cultural fit. So how do you define that, and how do you find people that match your culture here?
Definitely, we dig down and look for the best candidates. It's great that they check the boxes and want to, they can do the job, but, it's more so just digging deep down and trying to win their values and things like that, and make sure that they align with our values, and, especially for the front-facing employees that are in front of the members.
Exactly, because they are your face, right? Like the company's face. So It's so important that they meet with the values, as you said, and they share all of those values with the members and the guests and everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And in terms of skills, like hard skills and soft skills, how do you balance in finding the right candidate within those?
Well, I definitely think you have to have a balance between the two. I think that the hard skills will get you in the door, but those soft skills are the ones that are going to retain you and build on your career. We just want to make sure that they're able to do the job, but, just go beyond that, just the regular everyday things, and are able to, align with our values and, are the best representation for our companies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And now I want to talk a little bit more, if you can provide a little bit of examples or stories maybe about people that you have interviewed or hired. If you can share what makes somebody like really stand out for you.
In the past, my experience, there's no such thing as a perfect interview. They might check all the boxes and, sound great, but then, once you bring them in, it's like, what happened to the guy in the interview?
I actually have heard if it was a perfect interview, then there's an issue there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So we look for more personality, things like that. Hard skills can be taught, but soft skills, that's something they have to have. They need to come in with, because that's a huge difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And do you like talking about this like interview process and when they change, right? Have you seen somebody that in paper was perfect and when they got here, then it wasn't like that?
Yeah. I've had experiences where, we thought this is the perfect person. They're going to do a great job, and they had all the right answers. They said all the right things. They had a great personality, and once you hire them, that just goes out the door. Sometimes it takes a little while, but eventually it's going to show up. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like even like sometimes there are things that you can teach, right? As you were saying, they're hard skills. But if it's not hard skills, then it's just like maybe adaptation for a little bit. But if it doesn't change, then yeah,
they can't fake it for long.
Exactly. Yeah, I understand. And now I want to talk a little bit more about diversity, right? Like, as you know, we support in bringing people from Mexico and Canada. You also work with a lot of international interns and trainees. So what, I don't know if it's soft skills or values in general, have you seen in people from other countries that you like bringing here to the kids?
Yeah, absolutely. Just where, back in the kitchen here at the Falls, I talked to the chef last week. I was here, and he was talking about the 2 TNs that he has here plus the J1s, so that the kitchen's very diverse now. He says everybody brings their own piece of the pie, and it's just been such I guess a change for the kitchen, and now each chef has their own thing that they're teaching, and they're not just learning from us, we're learning from them as well. So it's just it's great to see that, and that's happening in all our clubs.
Yeah. And I don't know, I like to think about diversity in the two sides of the spectrum, maybe like the positive, right? Like everything that they bring to the table and how all the team adapts and learns from different cultures just by working with somebody from a different culture. But what do you think is the other, right? Like, I don't know if you can think about communication issues maybe, or something that you think it's difficult for people to adapt.
I think that the biggest thing, I don't think it's actually at work, but it's in housing, because they're living with somebody in a different culture. If they don't always, they don't know that culture and they don't understand it, or they don't understand the culture here. So it sometimes it clashes.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of education with them, and just letting you know that it's different cultures, and they're not always going to be the same. So it's part of the learning experience and adapting.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I didn't think of that side, but yeah, like you're trying to adapt to a new culture, but also there's like 5 more other different cultures around you, right? So it's a lot of adaptation.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Okay, so now just coming to the end of this episode, but I want to ask for advice that you have for both like candidates, but also other recruiters like you in the industry. What is something that candidates often either they overthink or they don't pay attention at all in the application process?
Probably overemphasizing a perfect resume. You see a lot of resumes that they, it looks like a perfect resume. They, it comes across as perfect and they have great experience, but we're looking more for personality and coachability and things like that. So it's more about the presentation of the interview than it is the resume. And I think they just need that to the resume will get in the interview, but it's the personality and the coachability and the humility that will get them the job.
Yeah, like the resume maybe like might unlock the door, but the interview is the one that actually opens the door, right? Yeah.
And another thing too would be, as far as, if you are on LinkedIn, make sure that your resume matches your LinkedIn profile. So I see a lot of that, and the dates might be a little different or wrong. So that's pretty important.
Yeah. At the end of the day, all the information needs to be the same, and obviously needs to be the reality, right?
Exactly.
Because we have also seen a few resumes that are like, is that real?
Yeah.
So yeah.
If you look at either a gap or a job that's listed on LinkedIn that wasn't on the resume, that's going to be a red flag. So that's really important to make sure it was patched.
Yeah. Okay. And what could you say is the best advice that you have for somebody that is applying to work here?
Just don't underestimate your importance to the team. It's all about values and culture, and just wanting to learn and be coachable. Even our consecutive chefs don't have all the answers. It's definitely a team mentality. So just, be humble and be willing to learn and be willing to share your ideas and what brings you here, personally.
Yep. Great. Well, Steve, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
It has been great being here at the Cliffs and meeting you and the team. So thank you so much for your time, for your partnership, for everything. And we hope we keep learning as well, as you were mentioning, right, from everybody in all the team.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming here and seeing the Cliffs and the great things that you do for us. And it's been a pleasure working.